the verses we're going to look at right now are the same verses that we're going to look at cell group today. And so I'm not going to go over everything. I just want to like maybe give some background information, especially about who Levi is and why Levi and these Pharisees, maybe some about who they are too. Um, why the Pharisees are getting angry at Jesus because of what he does with this Levi guy. So um, let's look at it. So we're in Mark chapter 2, starting verse 13. It says, "Once again, Jesus went out beside the lake. A large crowd came to him, and he began to teach them. As he walked along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax collector's booth. 'Follow me,' Jesus told him, and Levi got up and followed him. While Jesus was having dinner at Levi's house, many tax collectors and sinners were eating with him and his disciples, for there were many who followed him. When the teachers of the law, who were Pharisees, saw him eating with the sinners and tax collectors, they asked his disciples, 'Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?' On hearing this, Jesus said to them, 'It's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners.'" So, I mainly just want to give a little bit of background information. This is stuff you might have heard before, but I want you to think about who Levi is and maybe think of how this might apply to our modern context. Like who might be people like Levi in our modern context. So it says that Levi was a tax collector. He was sitting at the tax collector's booth. And um, what is it about tax collectors that people like the Pharisees did not like? What was it that basically put tax collectors in the same category as sinners? Later on, it says Jesus is eating with tax collectors and sinners. First of all, let's say that. Let me say that when they say tax collectors and sinners, sinners is kind of this like broad category that they put people in, specifically like if they were involved in like sexual sins, so maybe like prostitutes, or people who were known to associate with prostitutes. Like they just kind of got labeled as like these are a bunch of sinners that Jesus is hanging out with. And then tax collectors too. What is it about tax collectors? If you heard me say last time, at this point in history, um, most of the world, at least the European and Northern African world, was part of the Roman Empire. Rome had conquered all these places. And Israel, where the story is taking place, is a part of that land that Rome had conquered. So all of the Israelites, or the Jewish people, that's who the story is talking about, um, are under Roman rule. Rome is in charge of them. And Rome a lot of times treated, I mean, obviously they conquered them, but like would treat people pretty harshly, especially if you rebelled against Rome. So Rome would like try to um, keep keep order by, for example, crucifying people when they broke laws and things like that. So Jewish people did not like Rome. All right. So a tax collector is somebody who is collecting taxes for this Roman government, and helping out the people that are oppressing the Jewish people. Okay, and in order to collect these taxes, what the Roman government would do is they would find a Jewish person, so a Jewish person who would know all the Jewish people and like be able to associate with them, and they would pay that Jewish person to collect taxes. They would hire that Jewish person to collect taxes. So a tax collector is a Jewish person who's working for the enemy government, essentially. And it's sort of seen as like a sellout. And also, um, because a tax collector has the power of the Roman government behind him, like he could get soldiers to come and to enforce the tax collection if he needed to. Um, a lot of times tax collectors were corrupt and would collect more money than they needed to in order to keep the extra money and become wealthy themselves. Okay, so if you owed the government $5, I would come to you and say, "Hey, I need you to pay me $8, and take the extra $3 for myself, just because I can, because I have that power." So not only were they betraying their own people by helping the Roman government, they were a lot of times greedy people who were also just kind of using their power to line their own pockets. So people really disliked tax collectors. It's just sort of these immoral sellouts, okay, and saw them as people kind of beyond redemption, okay. So anyway, that's a tax collector, and I just want you to think before tonight's group, if you're listening to this, is in our modern context. I think there are still, even in your own life, my guess is there are people or groups of people that you probably look at as being um, kind of sinners that would be really hard for God to redeem. Like if Jesus came today, he would also look at that group of people and say, I don't want to hang out with them. And I think, we all maybe have different groups of people that we look at like that. Like some people might look at um, like white supremacists and racists and say, man, those people are so far gone. God would not even want to associate with those people if he came. Or other people might look at groups of people that they see as being really liberal and just really supportive of immoral things that like aren't in the Bible, or really supportive of LGBTQ causes and things like that. Like, and look at that and be like, man, those people are so far gone that God would never want to associate with them. If Jesus came, he wouldn't want to hang out with them. Um, and which is why these Pharisees, who see themselves as very religious people, are like, why is this Jesus guy going and hanging out with the worst people around? That's how they saw it. And and so one thing I just encourage you to think about tonight is like, who are groups of people that you see as almost being like so far gone that God couldn't forgive and heal and redeem them, and that you don't even necessarily really like associating with. I think we all have people groups like that we kind of isolate and think that they're almost like beyond forgiveness and redemption, like that you wouldn't really reach out to. I think we all have a tendency to do that. Um, and we'll talk about the story tonight, and also again what it means for us that Jesus came to heal the sick. So there you go. There's some context.